Hey everyone, it's Dustin with Tech and D. Today we're going to be repairing a cracked Moto Z3. Now I looked at the model number online and it did say Motorola Z3, and then I googled the part and it said Moto Z3 Play, so I was very confused. So after a little bit of research, come to find out they use the exact same screen. So I've turned down a few people on that on accident, but hey, we got the Moto Z3 part here, which also works for the Play, so that is a very important thing to know. Please note that you can go purchase these, a genuine one or aftermarket one, on Injured Gadgets, and I will leave you a link down below. They're going to be the best for your warranty and speed of getting the part, and you know you can get a genuine one if you want. I would recommend always using Motorola Originals because that's going to be the strongest screen that you can get, you know, the Gorilla Glass. If you get the fake stuff like on eBay or Amazon, what's going to be much cheaper, they can fail and have no warranty. So you always want to purchase from a proper supplier, so make sure you get that on the link below. If you're like, oh, no way, I don't want to do this, or I don't know anybody nearby, you know, this guy drove all the way from Wyoming to Utah for us. Well, he was passing through town, but anyways, you can always mail in your phone to us. Anyways, on to the video. Thanks. Okay, so I may be talking to a customer in between these repairs, and I'm not using my professional stand, so I apologize if the phone is a little bit wiggly. Initially, we're just going to take off that tempered glass and get that out of our way. Always double check your part and make sure that you got the correct part by just pulling this out here and then just lining it up, make sure it looks right, you know, make sure all the holes line up, and it does, which is great. So it looks like his back is cracked, but unfortunately we don't have the back glass for him today. So we're gonna go ahead and just start off the phone by turning it off. Is this the power button? Oh, it's this one, okay. As you can see, I've never actually repaired this phone or even worked on it, but I'm very excited to work on the Moto Z finally. Get somebody. I had to lower the price a little bit to get people interested. So we're going to use a heat gun today to warm this up. Now the heat gun is just a generic Wagner heat gun that I got at Home Depot, and this is just some gloves I bought at Walmart. It's just something very simple that you could easily do at home after you grab your part. And then you're just going to go in circles. Once again, make sure that phone is turned off. I'm just going to warm this up here. Now, the reason why I use heat is so we can separate the glue. And the idea is we're going to try to get it hot to touch, or where it starts turning yellow right there. That's where we start burning the screen itself, which is okay because we're putting a new one on. And we're just going to run our iseasmo tool and see if it pops up without any more resistance here. Okay, so we don't get much resistance, so we don't even need our iFlex tool, but you can go down here and just cut your edges off a little bit. This one has no fingerprint sensor reader right here, so that makes life a little bit easier than the previous gen. So an iseasmo tool or the iFlex tool will work perfectly for this. Just don't put it in too deep because you don't want to be scratching the motherboard or grabbing anything else in there. So since the part, if you look at it, it looks like it plugs in here like this. So we're going to fold it open like that. Yep, and that's the way it opens. Okay, so we need to disconnect the battery, and either it's going to be plugged in up here or plugged right here. I'm assuming it's going to be on the bottom like all the other Motorola's. The reason why you want to disconnect the battery is because you don't want anything shorting out while connecting the new screen. Now this looks like just some simple heat resistant tape. Nothing more special than that. We're just using the plastic spudger, but you can also buy that at Injured Gadgets. It's great for disconnecting electronics
Okay, so the battery is fully disconnected right here, as you can see. And we got a layer of Kapton's tape. Kapton's tape helps protect electronics from getting shorted out. So it's just gonna take that off. Also, it helps keep the actual screen sitting in place, you know, from maybe a jarring, crazy drop. And just pull that out after we pop this up. So I just went right here in the middle and twisted that up. I apologize if the video is a little bit crooked, but like I said, I'm not using my professional stand today. So we want to check to see if this has the ear mesh, and unfortunately it does not. So what we need to do is transfer the ear mesh. So just grab our heat gun, turn it on high, just like I did here, that was on high. We're just going to warm it up, and then we're going to transfer that ear mesh. So best way to usually do that is see if we can get a metal tool under there and twist up. Perfect. Comes right up. Burns my finger a little bit, but it's all good. Okay, so let's.
Need those fingerprints anyway.
Yeah, we don't need fingerprints. So we're just moving that plastic off. Be careful not to put your finger over the camera hole. So it's nice and transferred here. As you can see, these are just as bad as the Moto Z1, 2, and all the plays. They're just ultra thin and super brittle. But it's even more brittle if you buy the aftermarket one. I try to stick with only original stuff as much as possible, but you can buy aftermarket if you're just, let's say, trading in your phone, getting rid of it. You know, even if you put a big nasty case on there, I still wouldn't recommend aftermarket. I'd still recommend original. These just break so easily. I actually owned the Motorola Z, and it was a great phone. So all we're doing here is just slicing out this adhesive, the old adhesive, and we're going to put some new stuff in here after we're done. I would say be very careful because you could easily cut your fingers. Anyways, we're going to cut this out too. So the liquid glass, basically if you drop and break your phone, you can go anywhere and they'll cover up to $300 in damages for a whole year. It's $50 with the repair, $60 without. And it also has that strength on there as well. I'm going to try to salvage some of these piece of junk plastic pieces that keep on falling out. It's poor design. Okay, anyways, back to the video here. So we're going to try to put this microphone cover, it kind of fell off with the broken glass. And what this does is help transfer the volume of your mic. If it's covered in adhesive, I can't put it on. So there's another microphone right here and right here. That's just one's noise canceling, I'm assuming. Another one is picks up your voice. Okay, and then we're gonna get these other little pieces that fell out here. LED flash with proximity sensor cover. There we go, it's on. So battery's been fully disconnected now, so it's safe to plug in. You can not plug it in if you don't want to. I have no clue why that warmed up so fast. Something got really hot.
Yeah, it was flashing there. Sparks.
You seen sparks?
It was arcing.
Shouldn't arc at all. It's just Eddie. This is just plastic. Well, we're not going to put this back over it. Must have touched that. Shorted it there. Okay, let's test this here. Make sure we didn't kill the phone. That would be terrible. Ooh, this is trouble. Come on, cable. That's why I didn't want to do it yet. This is on a short lease. We gotta put the adhesive down first. Yeah. All I'm doing here is, now it's kind of hard to see in the video, is I'm just pulling in the cable as much as possible and then flicking this down. Now, I don't know if this is this material that caused it, but I am removing it off. I'll put down some tape or something. This I don't trust either. So some of this material looks like it got on the actual connection there. Be very careful and make sure that does not get on there. What is going on? Is it backwards? There's no way you can put it on backwards.
Except booby traps.
Tell me about it. Do we have material on this?
I don't know.
Can't really see. No, there's nothing on that. I don't think it was backwards, but we're going to try to clip it the other way. Nope, it doesn't fit in that way. That's what I thought. Jeez, I'm afraid to touch it. I've never seen this happen. There's nothing on the connector. Okay, no sparks now. So just for the safety of the store, I'm going to turn it on outside. Okay, well, good news is it's not warming up excessively. Battery feels fine. So some of this copper tape or some of this material got on it. So be very careful. This is a booby trap. And it's not very cool with Motorola, but happens. So while we're actually doing this, we're going to go ahead and just test this screen here. And okay, so we're just testing all the buttons here. Make sure it's working. Okay, so everything should be fine. Okay, so phone hasn't blown up. That's always a good thing. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and pop out this after we turned off the battery. Bad old habits. Let's use the spudger. That's a good way to break it. Okay, now we're going to take our 1mm Tessa tape. It is stupid small, and our titanium scissors. Let's cut a nice piece off.
Why do they need to be titanium?
So they last.
Oh, hey, that makes sense. That's simplicity.
I don't have much room on this table because of the way my tape is lined up here. So I bought this X-Acto knife kit for professionals. You can get them at Injured Gadgets, or some really expensive ones on Amazon I found too. The titanium tweezers I actually picked up at Walmart. If you want to pick up a heat gun, you can pick it up at Home Depot, or you can go to Injured Gadgets as well. They should have one. Basically, all the tools that you need to complete this repair should be found at the link below. Remember, if you do use the link below, you'll get a little discount on your parts. This thing is so lopsided because your stupid camera in the back. You noticed that too?
Yeah.
It's kind of annoying. You guys ever wonder why most of the videos online are so short? Is because they want you to watch them, but then they leave out extremely important details. And sometimes just watching, you know, me actually doing the full steps is more helpful than to fast forward or skip it. Only fast forward it if you know how to put down adhesive tape the correct way. So I would always recommend just going step by step, pause the video, do the step, then resume the video and watch. And make sure that your work lines up with what I'm doing. And obviously you can learn from my mistakes too, like I almost burned up the phone. That was a mistake I do not want to repeat.
Probably told this in your other videos, but what does Tesla tape do?
Tesla tape is heat activated tape. So when I heat it up, it bonds to a surface very tightly, to the glass and to the frame, and it really helps hold down the screen. The only reason why a screen would come up is basically if you didn't warm it up, or if I'm trying to think here. If the frame is bent, that's another way of mishap. So I'm just going to, you can put captain's tape down. Unfortunately, I don't have any, so if you do have some, put some captain's tape down. But this tape will work just the same. And if we have to pull it up again, all you have to do is pull this piece of tape up and it'll lift that component right up.
It's a trap. Thanks, Motorola.
Yeah, some phones are very trappy. I've had a few. Most iPhones are trappy, so they have like multiple different sizes of threads and screw, and they're so tiny you can barely even tell the difference. And so if you don't organize them, you can thread them into the wrong hole and it'll fry the motherboard. So that's the kind of trappy
Tricky.
that Apple does. Besides that, as long as you know your traps and you're good at organizer, you can fix phones. What do you do for work yourself?
I work in the oil field.
Oh, nice.
We do a lot of high pressure valve systems and wellheads and lots of stuff that's super heavy.
It's really booming in South Dakota right now.
Yeah, there's lots of places that it comes and goes with feast or famine and booming or not, but
I lived in an oil town. I grew up in an oil town, I should say.
yeah.
Like half here and half in Bakersfield, California.
Oh yeah, we used to have an office in Bakersfield.
Yeah. I lived a place called Oildale.
Ah,
Shout out to anybody who lives in Oildale. That place sucks. I will never go back. But, a lot of my family's out there, so I go visit from time to time. My mother is here in Utah, for anybody who doesn't know where we're at. So if you do take this to a repair shop and decide that that's your thing and you don't want to do it yourself, I'm just talking to the camera. So if you do decide, just make sure that they're using genuine parts, and around the correct price should be around 160 or possibly more depending on your market. That's what I'm charging this gentleman today. I actually gave him a little bit of a deal for him coming out to me. Okay, now that we got all that adhesive down, so we're going to need to lift that cable off, or that piece of tape off, very carefully. This is going to actually help give us a little bit more flex when plugging in the cable. Oops, should have known that, but I didn't do that. Just making sure there's no debris anywhere. Just pulling off some of the tapes that came with it. It's going to help it make it nice and sticky when it sets down. So it's going to plug in this way, right? So what we could do is just flip it around like this, make our life super easy, and plug it in, right? Here's our spudger. And we're going to plug it in right here. Okay, now it's plugged in. And we're going to close that clasp. We're going to turn it on and make sure it turns on. It does. Careful, it's sticky. I'm going to grab the phone and flip it around. Careful, careful, careful. So let's take out the plastic so we can actually see where we're going. We're going to aim at the corner here. If any of the corners are dinged inward because you were really bad with your phone, or the customer was because you're doing this for a client, you need to bend out those corners before fitting this perfectly flush piece of glass in. So make sure you check your corners before doing it. Just nicely put it down. Don't be aggressive. Remember how thin that LCD is. I've broken a few of these Motorola screens putting them in because they're so delicate.
And you're back to square one.
Yeah, we're back to square one. Okay, so then we're going to turn that back off here, and then we're going to heat it up again. And we just got to put a little bit of pressure under it for about 30 seconds. So obviously we don't want to go as hot as last time. Just remove that sticker by heating it up too. Okay, but we just want to go a little hot to the touch, or warm to the touch I should say. And you've seen how long that was on the video if you're watching. Yeah. Now if the screen comes up a little bit, that's possibly because the customer bent it or the adhesive is just not sticking. A couple options that you can use is a very thin amount of either Gorilla Glue or Super Glue, or you could use the B6000 glue. I can't remember the exact name. I never use it because Super Glue is cheap and it works just fine. But you could put it in the corner where it's affecting it. But if you do it in one corner, you'll have to do it in all four because it will come up in the other corners. So what we're going to do is we're going to just check and see if it's sealed and there's no play. If there's a play in the actual screen here, then that would mean that it's not sitting down flush. So I can confidently say that the screen's not coming up a little bit. I actually just heard it clicking a little bit more right here. It's probably because of these dings. But it feels like it's in there good and it looks nice and flush. So I would say that we have a completed Motorola phone repair here. Motorola Z3. And remember, the Z3 Play is identical in the screen and probably near identical for fixing this phone. So be on the lookout for the Z3 Play in the future. I might be doing a video on that. We'll see, depending on how challenging it is. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video here at TechMD YouTube. Feel free to like, subscribe, and have a good day.